Welcome to the Unbranded Leadership Podcast, where we discuss anything and everything that can help us grow in our leadership journey. I'm your host, Mike DeStefano, and on today's episode, we are going to talk about strategic planning. And not necessarily strategic planning that you would normally hear for a fire department or for a business or anything like that. We're going to talk today about personal strategic planning. We're about halfway, almost all the way through January, and personally I like to use January as more of a reflection time rather than a planning time as far as the beginning portion of it. I like to look back at the year and see, okay, what has happened, where am I at, what's done with it, review, my finances, how I've grown or lost during the year, how my business is doing, how my career is doing, my family, my faith, all of these different things. So it's a complete review. So the latter portion of January, I like to dig in and create an actual strategic plan for the year. And don't get me wrong, we can make strategic plans that last for 3-5 year plans. I'm talking today about a 1-year plan, just simply for 2025. That way we can create something that we have a metric and a tangible item, not necessarily tangible, but a metric that we can actually relate to and we can look back on next year and say, did this work? Did this planning process work? Was it achievable? Was it simple enough that I could actually do it? And what were the results of it? So let's dig into it a little bit. Why do we do strategic planning from a personal aspect? And I think the biggest reason is because as humans, we all love to dream. We all love to sit back and daydream about what could be. What could I do here? What could I be if I just applied myself? If I wanted to do this, I've always wanted to get a degree. And you start thinking about it. You do research on it. You find a degree that you want to do. And then it just kind of fades away. Life gets in the way. All of a sudden, I'm too busy at work. I'm too busy at home. The kids have softball that I have to take them to. Well, my wife's doing this. I have this going on. And it just falls to the wayside. And then guess what happens? The next year comes around. We dig into it again and we start looking back at the year and we go, man, I wasted all that time. But this year's the year. I'm definitely going to get my degree this year. I'm going to start it. I'm going to pull the trigger. Let's go. But again, there's no plan to obtain that, to actually execute that. And when that occurs, it just keeps falling to the wayside. Someone always said that dreams stay dreams unless you have a plan to execute. And I completely agree with that. I think that's really, really well said, that unless we actually put pen to paper, that dream just stays a dream. There's nothing comes from that, right? So that's one reason why we want to do strategic planning. The other reason is we want to grow as people. We want to grow not only in our careers, not only in our family and our faith and in our health and everything else. We want to grow holistically as a person. Every aspect of our lives should be growing at all times. And I'm a firm believer in that. I love the 1% principle. It says that every single day I should be improving my life 1%. And if I continue to improve my day or my life 1% a day, then man, by the end of the year, I've grown exponentially in my goals. So how do we create a strategic plan? So the first thing that I think we need to do, and this goes back to businesses, this also goes back to fire departments and organizations when they create their strategic planning. And even though we're only doing a one year strategic plan, this is very, very, very important. So like I said, the first portion of January, I do a lot of self-reflection. I look back to see what worked, what didn't work, where I'm at, where I wanted to be, and kind of see if they all lined up. So we have to do that ourselves. Hopefully you guys have done something similar. I think a lot of us do this in January. It's the new year. Toward the end of December, we start kind of thinking about it because everyone wants to make their New Year's resolutions. But it's important to actually look at it from a detailed aspect. And when I say detailed, I mean I want you to actually write things down. And that's the biggest thing when it comes to planning, is actually writing things down. We have all kinds of ideas up in here in our noggins, but the reality is if we don't write it down, it doesn't exist. It's just like our EMS reports, right? If we don't write it down, it never happened. So when we're looking back on this, I want you guys to do a SWOT analysis of your life. You're going to look for things like strengths. What strengths do you have? What strengths do you have in your relationship? What strengths do you have in your faith, in your health, in your career, in your finances? All these different aspects. We have to look at that. Write it down. Then we're going to look at our weaknesses. Where are our weaknesses at? When we look at our career, is a weakness that I don't have a degree because, I'm getting passed over for promotions, I'm getting passed over for positions because I don't have the necessary requirements. And if that's the case, write it down. What are our relationships? Is it, I'm not spending enough time with my wife, or it's not quality time with my wife, I'm not listening enough. When we look at our finances, is a weakness the fact that we don't have an emergency fund? Emergency funds are important just in case things happen, right? If it's there, write it down. The next one is opportunities. What opportunities do we have during the next year that you think are going to pop up? What opportunities do we have that we can grow within those things? Do I have, $5,000 sitting in a bank account somewhere that's just sitting there? That's an opportunity. We can invest that into a CD or something like that and actually grow that money and use that opportunity. What other opportunities do you have in your life right now that we can really use in an advantageous way to build up and meet those goals that you may have as we start moving forward? And the last one is threats. Look forward and see any threats that may be coming. And when I say threats, I don't mean like, we live in Florida, so there's always a threat of a hurricane. Well, yeah, that's always there. You want to have those ideas because, again, that goes back to like your emergency fund. But what other threats do you have? And when I say threats, I mean things like, I know my daughter's going to turn 16 soon. Well, she's going to need a car. That's a threat. That's something that's going to pop up that I need to adjust for and handle mid-year. Things that are going to have to be handled and planned for a little bit that are going to change up how our strategic plan looks during the year. Those are our threats that I want to look at. So once you've got all your SWOT analysis done, we have it all written down, I want you to kind of review it. And when I say review it, I mean literally look into it, self-reflect on it, really spend some time on this. This shouldn't be something that can be done in like 30 minutes. You might be able to write down and just blot on paper and get a lot of that information on there. But I want you to actually review it. I want you to think about it, to be intentional about those thoughts and really put down truthful and real thoughts. So when we're talking about our strengths, talk about your personal strengths. Our weaknesses, this is the hardest one for anybody. Nobody likes to talk about their weaknesses. I go back to interviews, job interviews. When we do a job interview, what's the question that's always on there? Well, tell us what a weakness is of yours. And everybody always has the game where they try to change the question basically to a strength. Well, I think my weakness is that I'm such a hard worker. Oh, okay, cool. But seriously, dig into it and really expose yourself and provide those true weaknesses that you have, that you have, things that are limiting you and that are holding you back. Put that on paper, because that's going to be a lot of what the strategic plan is going to be about, is overcoming those weaknesses, building on our strengths, overcoming weaknesses, exploiting our opportunities, and trying to minimize our threats. So once we've got all that down, we're doing good. We're going to use a program or a system that I like to call, or that I like to utilize, called MGOT. So MGOT stands for MGOT. It is mission, goals, objectives, and tasks. The thing about a strategic plan is it's really great to have it on paper. It's great to have this plan that's in front of you and you know what you have to do in order to achieve the mission that you've set forth. But the more and more complicated you get, the harder and harder it is to actually achieve that mission. So we want to keep it simple, right? So I love this method, using the MGOT method. It works very well for me. I've used it for not only my personal strategic planning, but also for my business that I run, as well as for the divisions that I've run within the fire department. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do our mission statement. And a mission statement is, for lack of better terms, it's all inclusive. Our mission statement is going to be what I can reflect on, and I can say, okay, this is my mission. Everything that I do in my life moving forward should align with this mission. If it doesn't align with that mission, cut it out. It doesn't need to be there. And that includes the smallest, stupidest little habits. Things like, oh, I'm scrolling on Facebook. You know what? It might align with your mission. If your mission is to grow, part of your mission is to grow your social media influence and things like that, then yeah, that might actually be something that's beneficial for you. But if it's not beneficial, cut it out. It's a time waster. And that's one thing that we have to realize, that when we write the strategic plan down, this is something that's going to encompass our entire lives. It's going to encompass every single aspect, every part of our decision making. So when we start looking at our mission statement, so as I'm developing this, I like to do my mission statement after my goals. So my goals will incorporate into my mission statement. So for example, the 4 things that I want every single person to work on within their mission statement is always family, faith, career, and health. Those 4 things. You have a goal for each one of those things. And the reason I say that is because we want to have, we're not working on a business. We're not working on something where, profit's everything. Or, we're trying to do XYZ for an organization. We're working on ourselves, and we're trying to grow ourselves. So those 4 categories are going to create growth that is throughout our entire lives. That's that holistic approach that I was talking about. So create your 4 main goals. And like I said, use those categories. And what we're going to do is we're going to create that mission with that statement that's going to incorporate all of those. So for example, if my family is to build a better relationship with my wife, okay, that's check. That's our first one for family. For faith, it's going to be to grow in my relationship with God. Fantastic, check. That's 2. Health is going to be improve my health over the next year. And I want these to be very, very basic when it comes to mission statement portion of it. And then the 4th one is going to be our career. And the career is going to be to grow within my career, to grow within my position within the fire department. So now I've got my mission statement of to grow, and I put it all together, make it sound nice. I'm not going to tell you what to say with this. Make it something that's a simple, I would say 1 to 2 sentence mission statement that incorporates all of those. Once we have that, that's now our mantra. That's something that we're going to literally write down. If you have a whiteboard in your office, put it in your office. If you have, on your phone, make it so that when you pop up your screen to make a phone call or whatever, that's what comes up as your mission statement. So it's constantly in your head. We talked a little bit about this when it came to branding. We want it to be over and over and over again. So that's constantly in our head. It's constantly in the front of our mind where we're always thinking about our mission statement. Next, we work on our goals. So we created some of our goals. We said we wanted to do those 4 categories, right? Now we're going to get a little specific about those goals. So we said, okay, let's go with an easy one of, I say easy, but it can be very, very tough for people. But let's go with the one of family, of building a relationship with your wife, or a better relationship with your wife. So our goal will be, I want to build a better relationship with my wife over 2025. Great. We've got that down. It's a simple goal. And from there, we're going to build into our objectives. And like I said, we're going to have multiple goals that align to our mission statement. And that's really important, that we have a singular mission statement with multiple goals. And when we have these multiple goals, it almost should look like an organizational chart. Our mission statement's at the very top, then we go down goal, 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 goal. And then from there, we're going to create our objectives. How are we going to obtain that goal for the year? So we're going back to the wife one, building a better relationship with my wife. Okay, well, my goals are going to be, I want to have more quality time with her. Great. Goal number 1, build more quality time. The next one is going to be, expand our faith together. Cool. Build faith together. And you're going to create these objectives that all line up with your goal. The thing about your objectives is that they have to be A, measurable, and B, have a time frame to them. So we have to have metrics to them. So when I say I want to spend more quality time with my wife, perfect. We have an objective that meets the goal. But what is my measure and what is my my time frame on it? I want to spend more time with my wife, or I want to spend, say, 3 hours more a week with my wife by 6 months from now. Okay, cool. Now I have that. I can look back on that and say, okay, I have a metric, I have a measurable thing. Did I spend 3 hours more of time with my wife on week 1? Yes. On week 2? Yes. On week 3? Yes. For that 6 month span. And that gives me that description now. That's something that I can actually keep a track of and make sure and check how I'm doing. And we'll go over that in a little bit, but review of your metrics is so important for our strategic plan to figure out whether or not we're actually keeping up with it and whether we need to reevaluate it and potentially change a little bit of it. Our strategic plan should be so basic that there's really not much to change other than in our task section. But like I said, we've created a goal. We have our objective of how to meet that goal. Goal is to build a better relationship with our wife. Objective is to spend more quality time with her. And we said that we had to add the metrics to it. So it's spend more quality time with her, increasing or being 3 hours more time than currently a week for the next 6 months. So now I have a end date. I have my specifics of it, of the 3 hours a week. Now it's time to move on to my tasks. Now, how do I do these tasks? The tasks are always short term. They fit within the objective and they're extremely descriptive. So I may go, okay, I set it aside for my objective that is going to be 3 hours a week that I'm increasing. What are the tasks that are going to meet that 3 hours a week? I'm going to do 1 hour of Bible study with my wife a week because that's going to be quality time. That I can now put that down as a task, 1 hour Bible study. It's short term. I know that I'm doing this at the end of the week. I can look back and say, okay, did I hit these things? Then I met the objective for that week. Good. So I have 1 hour Bible study. Once I've done the 1 hour Bible study with her, check it off. Simple enough. The next one is going to be something like go out to dinner. Okay, great. Go out to dinner. That's another hour right there. Once I've done that, check it off. And then the final one could be something like work out together or watch a movie together. Whatever you may select, doesn't matter. That's your task. It's very descriptive. I want to watch. So, and these do change. You may have, I want to watch a movie with my wife, but it may be I want to go on a date with my wife. And then you put in there each week, okay, to this week we're going to go to the movies. The next week we're going to go putt golf. The next week we're going to, whatever it may be. That way we can check off those tasks. And at the end of the week, we go now to our objective and say, we've checked that off. At the end of the 6 months, we go back and go, oh my gosh, we got everything checked off. And we'll have another 6 month objective. We'll have more objectives that are longer term. But at the end of the year now, we can go, okay, was that goal completed? Wow, it was. I did spend more time with my wife. I did build my relationship with my wife. That's fantastic. So let's go to a different one. Let's go to career. Career is another big one, obviously. People that are watching this because they want to build their leadership. So let's look at that aspect of it. Our career. What do we want to do? What's our goal for this? Our goal is going to be increase our leadership skills. Fantastic. What are our objectives on it? Okay, my objectives are going to be something like, I want to read 6 leadership books within the first 6 months of the year. Good. Objective 1. Objective 2, I want to take a leadership class. Good. Objective 2. Objective 3, I want to listen to Unbranded Leadership Podcast, 10 episodes by 6 months. Good. We've got that down. Now we move on to the tasks for each of those objectives. The first one was read books, right? Read the 6 books. So we say, okay, in order to achieve reading 6 books in 6 months, I have to read, we'll say something like 4 chapters a week. That is our task now. I'm going to read 4 chapters a week of, Leading Change. That's the first book that we're going to select. But again, you have to be so descriptive. It can't be, I'm going to read 4 chapters of a book. Because all you're going to do then is I don't know what book I want to read. I don't know. And again, if you don't have that specific task down of how many chapters, read more. Yeah, that works out well when you say read more. You're never going to do it. What is more? It's very subjective. We want objective, definitive tasks that are descriptive and that give our time frame. So we said 4 chapters a week of this book of Leading Change. So we can go through and say, check, good, we're working toward that goal, right? The next one, we go to our objective of signing up for a class or to taking a leadership class. So for week 1, our task is going to be something like look into a leadership course. Okay, good. We just, research leadership course. So we find a leadership course by the end of week 1. By the end of week 2, it's going to be something as simple as sign up or apply for the course. Week 3, obtain books for the course. Week 4, we're going to begin the course. Week 5, complete tasks or, whatever tasks are within that course. And we're going to have that laid out, each individual task. Homework assignment 1, discussion board this, write this paper, whatever it may be. Those are going to be the tasks that align up to our objective of completing the course within this first 6 months, which aligns with our goal of building our leadership skills. So that's kind of how it looks when we do this, right? So the really, really important part of this entire plan, of this entire strategic plan, is execution. And this is where it gets tough, guys. I'm going to tell you right now. I've written plans before, and I've sat back because I'm a lazy and was like, oh, well, I've got this going on. I've got this other whatever thing that popped up. And I didn't do it. I didn't execute on the plan because I found an excuse. So this is where I need you guys to be strong with this. I need you guys to dig into this and actually execute the plan, which means you have to constantly reevaluate your plan. You have to reevaluate and see where you're at for those metrics that you chose, the specific timeframes that you are at. So personally, I'll set up a little Excel spreadsheet, and the guys that work with me know that I love spreadsheets. I have spreadsheets for absolutely everything. And I'm also a nerd because I'm a fireman. And I have to have everything in pictures and color coded because we all know firemen like pictures. So I'll have my spreadsheet set up and I'll have my tasks that are on there. And when I reevaluate each week, I'll go through and I'll select that task and I'll give it a green, a yellow, or a red. A yellow means I did some of it, but I didn't do all of it. Red means I didn't do any of it. I was lazy that week. I had something come up. I was at a conference. I did whatever, and I didn't hit that goal or that task. And then green means that it was completed for the week. So obviously I want to pull that up as I'm going further and further into the year, and I want to see lots of green. I want to see green everywhere. Otherwise, I'm in trouble. Then you go to the actual objectives portion of it, and I say, okay, my objectives, which are a little bit longer term, right? Those are longer term than our short term or weekly tasks. And I'll say, okay, where are we at with that? And I'll go through that objective and I'll highlight that. If I start to fall behind, I'll make it yellow because then all of a sudden it goes higher in my priority list. And I say, oh, if this is yellow and I'm falling behind on this and I'm only into February, I need to really, really be intentional with this. I need to keep up with this. And then if it's red, it means I failed. I failed that objective, which means that my goal at the end of the year is most likely going to be a failure. I can try to catch up, but I'm falling behind so much that I'm probably not going to have it. And then at the end of the year, when I review that information, I look and go, dude, I had a bunch of red on there. I really failed this year. I didn't do what I was supposed to do this year. And that goes back to that reflection aspect. Why? When I look at my SWOT analysis for next year, I'm going to look at it and say my weakness. My weakness was I didn't follow through. I didn't do what I was supposed to do, right? So thinking about this, in the past week I was at a fire conference, and it was a really good fire conference, and a good buddy of mine did a keynote speech on the weight of our words. And one of the things he said was that our words need to match our actions. And that is the entire premise of strategic planning. We've created a bunch of words on paper. We've created a really, really great plan on paper, but are our actions actually connecting with that? See, when we started talking at the beginning about dreams are up here, they're in our mind, but are they actually leading to our hands? Are we actually putting work to those dreams? And one of the things that this really relates to with leadership, and that I started thinking about, was that the reputations that we carry with us are so critical as we move up in leadership. We have those people that walk into a position and they obtain a position, whether it be because they are a really great interviewer or a great test taker, or they have a phenomenal resume, but their reputation doesn't match their resume, basically what they provide on paper. And that's really critical because that reputation is all we really have. So just to give you guys an example, and this goes back to the strategic planning aspect of really putting, pen to paper and actually making things happen. But when I was applying for a position down South Florida, I thought to myself, I put in my application, I thought to myself, man, I've got a great resume and everything like that. But the reality is, I know nobody knows me down there. I was like, nobody knows my name. Nobody knows anything about me. So I know that it's going to be hard to get the position. And to be honest with you, I kind of wrote it off. When I had applied down there, I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to get the spot. Nobody knows my name. Nobody knows anything about me. And the reputation that we carry is so much more important than the resume we carry. So as I'm sitting there, I start getting phone calls from people that are down south. And they're like, hey, Mike, the chief's asking about you. And I started realizing that my reputation that I had built actually did spread down to South Florida. The articles that I had written spread down to South Florida. The people that I had trained in the past spread down to South Florida. And because of that, and I'm fairly confident that that's the only reason that I actually got the position, is because of not my resume. My resume is just like anyone else's. It's just a piece of paper with a bunch of accolades on it that really don't mean anything. But I got the position because of the reputation that I had from the people, the word of mouth that was there, that was down there. When we move up in leadership, we have to realize that if we're sitting there constantly touting our resume and we're, poking ourselves in the chest, look what I did, look what I did, look what I did, on paper, but our actions don't align with that, it's nothing. Our words have to match our actions, right? So personally, I'm a man of faith. I'm a devoted Christian, and I talk a lot about that. But if my actions didn't align with that, is anybody ever going to listen to me? Are they ever going to want to follow me as a leader? Why would anyone even care for what I say after a few weeks of talking like that if my actions aren't aligning with it? If I'm preaching the Bible and I'm preaching God, but my actions are saying, I'm over here, drinking and partying or cheating on my wife or abusing my kids or something like that, but I'm preaching the Bible, nobody's going to take me seriously. No, my reputation will be garbage. Again, I may have a great resume that says, oh, he has all these pastoral classes and everything like that, but the actions don't match, right? So when we look at our careers, we have to realize that every single position that we are in, we have to utilize actions that are actually going to align with what our values are. And if we're not doing that, it's going to catch up with us. It's going to lead to that level. So the last podcast I talked to Captain Vermeulen, and one of the questions I asked him was, after he wrote his book, how did his crew take that? Because we all know that as firemen, we have a 50-mile rule. And that 50-mile rule says that if I leave or I'm 50 miles away from my department, I'm automatically an expert. And the reason for that is nobody knows us. And when nobody knows who we are, they just assume that we're an expert because of our whatever we present ourselves with. Oh, he's a deputy chief. He must know what he's talking about. Oh, he has a doctorate degree. He must be an expert. But that's because they don't know you, right? So when I asked him that, it was really a question of, do the people that surround you, did they accept your information, your knowledge, and your book as something that was truthful? Because like I said, we can sit there and I can write a book today and I can send it out to people in California and they're going to be like, oh, this is a great book. This guy knows what he's talking about. But if I'm not living those words, if I'm not actually using that information to take action upon within my career, then I'm just a poser. I'm fake, right? So that's why I asked him that. And he came back with, yes, they loved it. They were like, this is great information. Going back to my own journey, when I would write articles for Fire Engineering and Fire Rescue Magazine, a lot of times those articles were not based on theories that I had in my head or ideas that I had in my head. They were things that I was actually doing, things that were actually being implemented. And because of that, people really understood it and took it to heart. And that's what's important, is that our actions align with what we're saying. So going back to our strategic planning, when we write all this down, our actions have to match our plan. We have to be able to execute. And if we're not executing, then this plan is absolutely worthless. So guys, take it to heart. Go, reevaluate, reflect on yourselves, create your SWOT analysis, move into the MGOT program of mission, goals, objectives, and tasks, and create your strategic plan. And then please, 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 the most important part is execute that plan. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode. Again, please check out our webpage, unbrandedleadership.com. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or if you have anything that you'd like to hear on the podcast, click the link that tells you that connects you to us, the contact us link, and let me know your thoughts on all of this. We'd love to get any information out there that you may have and or that you may want to hear.